Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be interviewing my friend Vern, who has now been living in Turkey for over 1 month. So let's go ahead and find out what Vern thinks about Turkey after 1 month. And previously he was living in the Philippines for 4 years, so let's go check it out. Stay tuned. Okay, welcome back, Vern. I appreciate you coming back on the channel and giving us an update about how Turkey is. So you've been there how long now? Over 30 days, right?
Yeah, I believe this is week 5 that
Week
I've been here now
5.
in Turkey.
Okay,
hmm
so when I talked to you, you literally had been there maybe a week, and I don't even know if you were there a week yet. So a month later, fast forward, how do you feel about it now?
Well, I spent 1 month in Istanbul, and
Mm-hmm.
I stayed in one place and kind of ventured out a little bit. And for me, I like to have a home station, a home base, and then
Yeah,
kind of venture out from there. Some people like to just go from here to here to here to here to here, and they never really get to see what an area is like. They just get a thin veneer, and they say,
sure.
"Oh, this is what it's like." Well, when you're there for a week, yeah, that's what it's like. But what's it really like? So I wanted to get a full
Mm-hmm.
idea of what Istanbul was like, and it has a lot of good things going for it. It
Mm-hmm.
has probably the best transportation system I've ever been on, and
Mm.
literally you get off of one train and there's another train waiting. You get off the train and there's a boat waiting. There's
Mm.
just been no lag in time, and everything was very inexpensive. Everything was super clean, and it blew me away how well it was set up. So that was
Now,
go ahead. I thought you were going to
initially,
say
you told me when you were trying the food, you found it a little bit bland, not really that a lot of spices. What about now? Has that changed at all?
I would say I had found food more that was more
Mm-hmm.
of a flavor. Yes, in fact, I'm in a place called Selchuk, which is the
Mm-hmm.
old Ephesus, the old biblical Ephesus is where I'm
Wow.
at now. And I had this pizza last night that was take a pizza and they roll it up like a medium sized pizza, and then they elongate it and kind of shape it like a canoe on the end, and then they put everything in there and throw it in the oven and then chop it up in pieces. And last night that was probably the best
Wow.
little pizza that I've ever had, and they glazed it over with like an olive oil on the top, and it was outstanding. And one thing I can say is the produce here is off the hook. Everything is a large size, it's of extremely high quality, so that translates to a better taste.
Yeah.
Now, what I didn't notice
Mm-hmm.
is I don't taste a lot of really high salt or high sugar foods. You're
Okay.
getting more flavor. And if they do use spice, it's kind of sparingly. It's not
Hmm.
overpowering, which is good. So that takes a while to get used to, because in Asia they tend to put a ton of salt and they
Yeah.
tend to flavor with sugar. So that kind of destroys a lot of flavors in some ways. So
So a lot more organic, natural foods and flavors
yeah,
over in
yeah,
Turkey.
I would
So,
really say so.
so
Yeah, it's a foodie.
oh, go ahead. It's a foodie.
It's a foodie lover's paradise here. It really is. If you love to eat and you love food, this is the place for you. I cannot think of another place that would be as good that I've ever been to for different foods and stuff.
Fantastic. So
Yeah.
you were in Istanbul, and you are now. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name. What is it called?
It's it's a place called Selçuk,
Selçuk.
Selcuk, and it's the old Ephesus that you find in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And it is probably, what is it? I flew in here, so it was an hour flight from Istanbul to here, and I think if you were to drive it, it would probably be, I think, 8 to 10 hours. I think it's fairly far.
Okay.
So,
And
and the flights are cheap.
how did you select that city? Like, what made you want to select that city to go to?
Well, I tend to like a smaller city and then to
Okay.
go towards the bigger city and then come back where it's quiet and kind of relaxed. And usually in a smaller city, people are more genuine, they're more real. In the bigger
Mm-hmm.
city, people are busy, they don't have a lot of time. So I wanted to find that. I wanted to find the pulse of the people. And
Sure.
so that's probably the biggest reason I chose that.
Okay. And are you digging it more than Istanbul, you think, or what do you think so far?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I had probably the best night's sleep that I had in about 5+ years. It was so quiet. It like 3 a.m. I woke up and it was totally still. And I'm in the city, mind you, in a hotel
Mm-hmm.
that probably has maybe 50 rooms, and it was so quiet. I'm like, wow, this is really
Wow.
nice. There were no roosters, there was no traffic, there was nothing. It was just stillness. And it was so nice to have that for a change.
No
So yeah, I'm digging
karaoke.
that.
No karaoke blaring at all hours.
There was none of that. There was
Yeah.
none of that. So yeah, I'm
And
sensitive to sound. So
I'm
so if I can find a quiet place,
if you
I'm
can
good.
find a
Sorry.
quiet place, you're happier.
Mm.
Yeah. If so I'm assuming in Istanbul there was a lot more people that spoke English, and probably even then not so much. But what about here? Are you finding anybody can speak English?
Well, here's kind of the dynamic that I'm finding.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is COVID time, a lot of the tourists are gone. Somebody sent me a statistic that there were 20 million tourists in 2019, and this year there's 5 million. So where the English speakers would be gravitating towards is where the tourists are. And if they don't have work, they're going to go home to their smaller cities. So
Mm,
it makes sense why I haven't found a lot of English speakers in the popular areas that I'm going to.
sure.
Now, when I was in Istanbul, there still is a disconnect finding people riding the bus here,
Mm-hmm.
talking to people on a taxi, trying to ask a simple question. Maybe one in 10 or 15 people that I encounter, I can have a conversation with. And usually it's college educated people or people that have lived abroad or people
Right.
that work in a tourist area. And that's pretty much it that I've found so far.
Now, have you met fellow expats? A few of them.
I have seen a couple in the town that I'm at. Now I'm on the Mediterranean. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I take a 30-minute bus ride to come to this internet cafe, which is in a town called Kushadasi. And Kushadasi is a coastal town. And
Okay.
there are more expats here. Now, the few expats that I did see, I just seen in passing. I said hi, but they were kind of going on their way. So I haven't yet
Mm.
talked to anybody. But eventually I'm going to spend some time in this town, Kushadasi, and find out if there is that connection and where they go and try to chat them up.
So when you're going around, do you just use Google Translate, or what do you do?
Yeah, without it, I would be just talking to myself pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, my friend went farther south to some of the smaller coastal towns, and he said there was one town that was mostly British people. So there
Huh?
are towns here that cater to expats and where the expats tend to live. And the
Mm-hmm.
town that I'm at is a huge, what is it called? The cruise ships come here.
Mm-hmm.
So it is known for that. So you're going to have that. But I just haven't spent the time here yet to
Sure.
really crack that nut.
So you'll spend 1 month in this next location, or how long?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be here a month.
One
Yep.
month. Okay. And you get 90 days in Turkey. Is that correct?
Get 90 days. Correct.
Have you figured out where you're going to go after the month here in the city?
Well, I'm kind of playing it by ear. I want to go to a place called Cappadocia,
Okay.
and it's really beautiful there, and it's very scenic, and it's hard to describe. You'd have to look at it on a map. Now, I was tutoring,
Mm-hmm.
and I just quit that because of the internet issues.
Mm,
And I figured if I'm only getting a couple classes a day, by the time I ride an hour here, get to the internet to use their internet and pay for the internet, what's that equate to?
right.
Um, so now I'm just going to try to push this and see where this goes. And if it doesn't work, then when COVID finally does clear up, I'll go back and
Mhm.
I'll work, more than part-time teaching somewhere. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So guys watching, make sure you subscribe and watch Vern's channel, and let's help him grow. So,
Thanks for that.
so Vern, after 90 days, have you decided? Will you try to extend and stay in Turkey, or do you think? I know before you were talking about maybe Albania or something, or
Yeah, when I came here, I had bought an exit ticket to Albania, and it
yeah.
was like $80. And in Albania, I believe you can stay up to a year, and there's no COVID, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
just quick from here to there. So one nice thing about Istanbul is if you need to fly from Istanbul, most of the other European countries, even the Middle East, you can travel for about $200 or less.
Yeah,
So it's cheap to hop around from here if you need to.
yeah,
So
fantastic. Have you got a better idea of what dating might be like? I would imagine just with the whole English thing, that's going to be not very good right away. So, just
well, it's interesting you say that. I haven't had the time to really go poke into that. There really isn't a lot of nightlife right now because of COVID. A lot of the clubs and things are closed down. But ironically enough, when I was doing a video shoot yesterday, I ran across a guy from Turkey that was married to a Russian lady. And I asked him, I said, "What is it like for your family to know that you're with a Russian lady? Or were you like shunned or anything?" And he says, "No." He said, "One thing you have to realize about Turkey is there are a lot of older people here, and they're pretty laid back." And he said that um, to them, it was just important that he found a good woman. And to the Russian gal, it was important that she found a good man. So it doesn't seem to be the typical stereotype of what you would think here. And
right.
also, this country has seen tourism for thousands of years and people intermixing, and you can see it in the people. At first, I thought that only the Turkish people had the blue eyes, or I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
the foreigners had the blue eyes, but I'm seeing that a lot of Turkish people have different color eyes, different color hair. I saw a headed guy who is a Turkish guy, and I'm looking at that going, really? So it was interesting. I couldn't peg the Turkish people to one look or one identity. I look at their faces and I see sometimes I'll see like in the statues, the old Greek Roman statues, I'll see that
Sure.
nose and I'm like, oh yeah. So it's interesting, and I think maybe the cultures have adopted more of an acceptable identity. But I'm still poking
Sure.
into that. I'm still looking for the answer to that. But that's a great question.
All right. So it's been 5 weeks, going on 6 weeks or so since you've left the Philippines. What are some of the things that you miss about the Philippines?
The biggest thing that I miss are the friendly Filipinos. When I interviewed the Filipino that was working at the Chinese restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
I missed how playful and happy and full of joy they are. And it feels contagious when they're happy and joyful. I feel like I want to be happy and joyful.
Yeah.
And here things are more serious. It's more like what you would expect back in the US. You get on a
Mm-hmm.
bus, most people are quiet, most people aren't talking, they're kind of serious, they're kind of kept to themselves. Out of
Mm-hmm.
all the bus rides that I've taken here, I can honestly say maybe 2 bus rides there were some people talking, and that
Mm-hmm.
was mostly between family members.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, and I'm more of, hey, let's start talking. Let's not be like this, it's just not me. So
Yeah.
I miss that. I miss the people in the openness.
Gotcha. And on the opposite end, what are some things that you don't miss?
You know, I like the options of the food here. I like that
Mm,
anything I want, I can get here. I
sure.
like the roads are perfect. They're perfect. I hop on a road. I don't think I've hit a pothole on any roads that I've been on here. I like the infrastructure where you know what to expect when you come to an intersection. Some guy's not going to come flying through there. I like that part is together, but with that comes less freedom. It
Mm-hmm.
comes at the price of somebody cracking the whip behind your back. Hey, do this. So
Yeah.
it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. If Okay, it said my internet connection was unstable, so hopefully it's still okay for you.
It's okay
So
now.
If you're a foreigner and you want, okay, if you're a foreigner and you want exactly what you had in your home country in another country, then this is very similar to the US, with the exception that it's going to take a while to figure out the dating scene, and you're going to have to find out where you're going to be most comfortable speaking or not speaking as much English. Maybe you need to find the expat community. Maybe you need to find an area where there are a lot of tourists that they need to speak English. So anything you want, I think you could find here.
Sure.
Comparable to the US. And I mean anything. I think it's that setup. It's in some ways it's more modern than the US. In some ways.
Yeah. Well, I definitely miss that too. I just miss organization and just being able to get whatever I need whenever I want it. And you give up a lot of that when you move out to the Philippines. But you know, it's you know, you also on the flip side, you get the friendliness and you get the English speaking, and the dating is so easy and all those things. So, yeah. All right. Well, Vern, I appreciate your update and letting us know how it's going, and we'll continue to monitor. And guys, make sure you check out Vern's channel. I'll put the link down in the description. See you guys next time.
Sounds good.